Welcome back to the Paddle and Fin Podcast Network. We're brought to you by Pelican, built tough for all situations. Go to pelican.com. Yak Gadget, for all your fine kayak fishing accessory needs. Go to yakgadget.com. Eastport Marina, on the beautiful shores of Dale Hollow Lake. For all your lodging, kayaking, and fishing needs, go to eastport.info. Now let's get this show started.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to The Reel Down. I'm your host, Jimmy Skinner. With me from now on, Mr. Dan Perry.
What's up?
He couldn't stay away too long.
I'm back.
Y'all been seeing him fill in for me, but I'm back. He's back. We're gonna be kicking it from now on. So what's up with you, dude? You been doing any fishing?
Yeah, man, all the time. I went up. I actually got to record a TV show earlier. Well, last week, went up on Gunnersville. It's a show called Facing Tides, and I think that Facing Waves or Facing Tides. I
think it was Waves.
Yeah, Facing Waves. There you go. With yeah. So that was fun. Cool.
He's a big deal now. He's on TV.
It's like a Canadian show, so I'm international, but I'm not.
That's
in
cool.
the US. Yeah.
You got to start somewhere.
Yeah, I'm starting small up in camp, working my way down.
Well, we got another great show planned for us tonight. We're going to be going over the KBF event on the Potomac River in Stafford, Virginia. But before we get to that, I wanted to first let everybody know just a couple of the big events that are coming up, just to make sure that everybody's paying attention and getting signed up for these events. First one coming up, next one in our area for you Southern guys is KBF will be at Lake Gunnersville the end of the month on 30th and April 30th, May 1st. So if you want to come down for that, make sure you get signed up for that. You know, it's the same format they've been using with the two separate day trail series events and the pro series. They also have the event. There's one more.
You're fishing that one, right?
Yeah. I think so. I'm going
just Saturday.
That's probably what I'm going to do. Kind of like I did in Florida, which I didn't fish Sunday in Florida because the fishing was shit. But I'm probably going to do just the day one and then hang out and just fun fish or camp. But we're going this Friday to go do some looking. I got a buddy that, like with NACA, you never could fish past a certain point of the lake. Well, now since this is a national event, there's like a whole, basically half of the lake that I don't ever explore. So I called in some help from my Tennessee buddies that actually fish that end to help your boy out. But also on the same days, the KBF's got an event at Chatfield Reservoir in Denver, Colorado. So that'll be pretty cool. KBF event in Colorado. Curious to see how that goes. Same format there. Can't remind you to sign up for this one because they're all sold out. But the Hobie BOS on Lake Eufaula is coming up April 23rd.
There's still some openings.
So really? It's not sold out?
No, a bunch of people keep dropping off. So I got in through the wait list, and I think right now there's like 10 spots that are open.
Oh, wow. Okay, well, you heard it here. So if you want to go fish the Great Lake Eufaula, with the way the weather's been in Alabama, I think it's going to be a banging ass event because we got a bunch of warm weather coming, and we have not had any really good warm weather with no rain. It's just been all over the place. Yeah. And it's kind of backwards. It seems
water's like a foot up, so they should be like way up shallow. I'm hoping so.
Yeah,
I've got like a spreadsheet. I'm watching the weather. And
of course, you have a spreadsheet.
Such a nerd. Yeah, I'm watching all the weather. All the pool and everything every day.
Yeah, and then the last big event I was gonna remind everybody about is the Bassmaster event on Smith Lake is coming up down here in Jasper, Alabama. It's a one-day Bassmaster event, $250 entry fee. Smith Lake's fantastic for most. I'm not a fan, but it's just not my kind of I don't know. It's just not my kind of fishery for real. It's a great lake though. You can catch tons of big old spots on it. But make sure you get signed up for that one.
Hopefully it stays a little bit colder. All them wakeboard boats be out and a bunch of people will be flipped. That's why we usually don't schedule events like late May or the summer because it's such a recreation lake that It could be bad if it warms up.
Yeah, and like we were on Del Hollow. Another reason why, like our friend, Drew Gregory messaged us about splitting a house with him for it, and we were on Del Hollow and it was cold and there were already wake boats out, and I'm just assuming that Smith Lake's already firing up too because Rednecks is ready to put them boats on the water,
And that narrow wakeboard boat, so it can get bad for a kayaker real quick.
Yeah, that's what blew my. I guess because I grew up in like wide spots of the river, the wakeboard boats are always out in the big parts of the river. Geez, they were like back in the skinny water wakeboarding when we were on Del Hollow. It just wasn't ready for it. But thankful to those guys, they were courteous. They would chill out when they saw us. So, but yeah, that's all the big events that are coming up. I want to just let everybody know. Make sure you get signed up. Get out there, try to cash a few checks. One more little piece of info we're going to give out. Dan's going to hit everybody with some fantasy real quick.
Yeah, so right now we're in the second quarter. So let's say you didn't do a whole lot. We're kind of a third of the way into the second quarter. Prizes have went out. First place, Ryan Crum. He's from River Ridge and Kayak Anglers here and down by Montgomery. He won a 50-quart Pelican.
Nice.
And then we're going to I got second, so I'm getting a $100 Yak Gadget gift card, and then third place getting a $50 Yak Gadget gift card because I'm eligible even though we do the show. And they
well, it's not like you get inside information.
Yeah, I said in the beginning too. Like I need one of them coolers. I need a new camping cooler. But so every quarter, and if you go to paddleandfin.com, fantasy fishing, you can still get signed up. But the top 10 at the end of the year are going to get prizes, so you can still get into the top 10. Then every quarter there's prizes as well, and there's 4 quarters, and we're only in second. So still get signed up, even if you didn't do it, you can still win a quarter or two. So yep.
Heck yeah. Well, all right. As we said, we're going to be covering the KBF event that happened last weekend on the Potomac River. And we have got they run a 2 separate day trail event. So a Saturday trail day, a Sunday trail day. Then there is a pro series that goes on during all of that, which is a combined 2-day event. And we have all of the winners here. So we've got Ryan, who was Saturday's winner. Welcome. We have got Alex, which was Sunday's winner, and Tyler, who took the Pro Series win. What's going on, everybody?
Welcome to the show.
How's it going?
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, I got that right, didn't I? Because I did just look at. I think I did. Yeah, I got it right.
Yeah, you got it right.
Yeah.
I was thinking I swapped the last two because it's on Fishing Chaos. It's a cool app. I hate how it lays stuff out because I'm like, it's like day 1, day 2, Pro Series day 1, Pro Series total, and it's just all over the place. Like, just put it in order.
All right.
What?
Well, welcome,
all right.
man.
Well.
Yeah. Well, I know Ryan. You've been on show before. We'll start with you. If you would, just tell everybody who you are, how you got into kayak fishing, and whatever you want people to know about you.
All right. My name is Ryan Nye. I'm from Connecticut. I got into kayak fishing 2018 probably, and started with a local trail. Just a couple. I don't know, probably 10 guys, 12 guys maybe. Fished that for a few years, did some tournaments up in Massachusetts with the local trail, and then decided to join KBF when it was still regional. They used to break it up by regions. So that was my rookie year, was the regional year, and then just stuck with it. And now we're doing it all over the place. So started local and went from there.
Fell down the rabbit hole.
Oh, yeah. Pretty quick. Pretty quick.
Autopilot or big water?
I use an autopilot now. I also have a Predator PDL, which is the same. So,
yeah.
But yeah, using an autopilot now, except for Hobie events.
Alex, how about you, man?
I started in 2017 with the kayak fishing, and I'm from Mechanicsville, Maryland. Or I'm not from here. I live here now. I'm originally from South Dakota. Not a bass fisherman by design. I grew up fishing, walleyes on the Missouri River, and used to throw big smallmouth back and be like, there's another trash fish. Get it out of here, And then I live in Maryland now and got into kayak fishing when I moved here as a way to kind of like meet other local anglers, and started up with mid-Atlantic kayak bass fishing. Still kind of my regular series, local series that I still run through the summer, and kind of like Ryan branched out. We were a KBF filler club, so qualified for the national championship, and I've fished a handful of those, and traveled to do the BOS series in a handful of events, and BASS jumped on board, and we became affiliate for them, and I fished the some of the trail events with them, and then the recent championship down at Richard Russell. I've kind of bounced around through boats. I started in a pro angler, switched over to Wilderness, spent some time on Wilderness Systems pro staff team, and now I'm back in a Hobie 360, and kind of in the process getting on the Hobie fishing team. It's kind of officially unofficial as of right now, but looks pretty good moving forward. So.
Did you do it through the local team, like through a shop?
Yeah, so Delaware Paddlesports has always kind of been my dealer for shops. They're out of Lewis, Delaware. Bought some boats from them. Great people. This whole kayak thing is interesting. It's all about who you surround yourself with and the support that you get. And from day one, I've been part of that family, and now I'm to a point where they take really good care of me, and I don't know. I can't say enough good things about them. I'm not just speaking from, obviously, I want to give them their credit when it's due, but well before, being on board with them, I drove 3 hours to a tournament and forgot my drive at home. So it was going to be a 6-hour, round trip to get my drive. And I kind of throw out a Hail Mary. I was like, I wonder if they've got a demo drive I can borrow, for the weekend. And ended up calling Brian Kidd, who's one of the owners of DPS, and he's like, yeah, man, no problem. I'll get it to you right now. Ever since from them, I was like, all right, I'm done. Like, I don't need to look for a better shop,
Yeah.
They reached out to me when they didn't have to, hooked me up, and it's been lights out ever since. So, yeah, they're my shop. They're my people. They're family at this point. So,
and I think people always talk about the pro staff stuff, reaching out to companies and stuff. I think that a shop deal is probably the greatest thing you can get if that's what you're like aiming for, is trying to be like some kind of pro staff or affiliated with someone. The shop experience, I mean, I'm sure there's some bad ones, but it usually is. Most of these shops are smaller companies. It's like a family. It's fun. Yeah,
no, I mean, I'll put it to you like this. I do this stuff for fun. I'm friends with a lot of the, big time, really, really good anglers in this kayak fishing, and it's fun to watch from the side. I work for, my small family's business here. We're a very small company. And right now I'm kicking off my busy season. I build swimming pools. I'm not able to travel during the summer like some of the other people. So this last KBF event is probably one of my last national events for the year, other than I'm going to try and get on the BOS at the Susquehanna River. So I try and get all of my traveling and big level events done early in the year where our season's kind of slow and I'm able to take off of work. I don't look for pro staff deals. I'm not a jersey wearer, and not saying there's anything wrong with that. It's just, I feel like, to represent a company fully, I need to
have more time,
to give back to them. And I'm not in a position to do so. I'd like to get there one day. Just my current employment situation and family situation doesn't allow it. So,
understood, man.
I know that one.
What about you, Tyler? Tell us about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm a New York native, upstate New York. I grew up here, and I got into tournament bass fishing out of a kayak in 2018. But I was fishing out of canoes and kayaks pretty much my entire life. That's what I grew up fishing out of. So to me, it was just natural. And in fact, I had looked into KBF prior to that, but I think it wasn't even until 2018 they didn't even let canoes in, and all I had at the time was a solo canoe, and the rules didn't allow canoes originally.
I wonder why.
So yeah, it was weird. But then I really got into it and bought myself a really old used Hobie, and from there got into another Hobie, and then last year I had an opportunity to join the field free fishing team. So now I'm out of a field free.
Sweet.
And it's been a fast track. My rookie year, my first event ever, I drove down to Virginia from New York to fish on the New River in April, and it snowed and it was cold, and that was my first experience ever in a tournament, was on the New River in the snow. But you know, I've fast tracked it, and now I'm the tournament director for New York Bass Nation, the kayak division here. And so I run our trail and set up everything for qualifying the guys to go do the classic here in New York. And so I'm dove in and I'm fully immersed now and travel as much as I can.
Dude, manage it wisely, because I kind of went the fast route too. I run the Bass Nation for Alabama, and I burnt out hardcore last year. Just like, it was like everything's going up, and then just bam! Like, I was just done with everything. Just like, my God, I need to get away from this for a minute. But
yeah, luckily I've got a great support with New York. The state organization here is really well run, and they take care of me. They give me the resources I need. They understand that the growth that's able to happen in New York, if Bass puts their muscle behind it, we can grow more. So
that's what we need down here.
It's what a lot of states need. It's what I've seen is a lot of people, the state organizations aren't really excited about the kayaks joining the fold, but New York has been opposite, and it's been a welcome.
Yeah, for us, it's been, not to get off on a tangent, for us, it's just been more of, it's like they're cool with it, they're interested, but it's like, they're like, we already do a lot of work, and we don't owe you anything. And like, the way it was put to me was, don't make me look bad, don't make us look bad, don't ask for money. And I was like, okay. But that was where my help stopped. So, all right.
Yeah, I don't think neither one of us have ever fished the Potomac. I just know grass and tides. So somebody can kind of like just give us a layout of Potomac and like kind of what it's all about. So somebody want to do that?
I was gonna say probably Alex if he lives close. I've only been there for a couple of days. So
so there's the cool part about the Potomac River, and a lot of people don't realize this. There's just a ton of history involved in how the Potomac River played into. The Potomac River runs up right through DC, and obviously before freight and roads and everything like that, it was used shipping, and it's actually really cool. The lower Potomac gets a lot of the credit for being such a tidal water fishery, but the upper Potomac has some really, really good smallmouth fishing as well. So it's kind of one of the overlooked things, but they used that back in the day to ship things to and from as a big waterway. But your tidal regions and where we were fishing, which I'll kind of stick to, starts at the Woodrow Wilson Bridge, which runs right into DC, all the way down to the Harry Nice Bridge, which is Route 301. I kind of find it a silly boundary. Not saying that you couldn't find bass down there, and I don't want to give away too much, but I kind of feel bad for the folks that look down there for fishing opportunities, because I think down there this time of year, you're at a since it is a tidal river, it runs into the Chesapeake Bay, which dumps into the Atlantic Ocean. Down there, you're more of a brackish water. I think if one were to launch down by the 301 bridge, you'd probably have more chances of catching striper than you would largemouth. A little more salinity to the water down there than we have, let's say, further up north towards the Woodrow Wilson Bridge. But the Potomac River consists of major and minor creeks. Your big creeks, Mattawoman, Piscataway. On the Maryland side, you've got Nanjamoy. Nanjamoy's a little further south. I've actually caught my personal best tidal Potomac bass out of Nanjamoy, but the numbers really aren't there. And then over on the Virginia side, you've got a handful of creeks, some of which are off limits due to military bases being over there. Chapawasmick Creek, it runs right into the heart of Quantico, which is a Marine Corps base. That one was off limits. Potomac Creek, Aquia Creek, and then some of your smaller creeks up north, Hunting Creek, Dogue, things like that. So it's full of little creeks, big creeks, you know, Mattawoman and Aquia probably being the two largest. And I'd like to consider myself pretty well versed on the Potomac. I don't know. I know there's a lot of people out there that know it better than me, but you know, at this point, I've got a pretty good handle on it. And I can tell you at any given Sunday, it's like NFL team. Any tournament can be won out of any one of those creeks. Some are better than others in certain time of the year, but all of them have good amount of fish, good size, good quantities. You just got to find it right. And then there's the tidal aspect to it, which completely, you know, with this weekend with the wind, I know there was a lot of people complaining, you know, that we're fishing on the Virginia side. We had a really strong northwest wind. And when you get that added with an outgoing tide, you call it a blow tide, and it blows all of the water out of the creek. And that incoming tide doesn't give it an opportunity to come back in because the wind is shoving the water out of the creek. And a lot of people on Sunday showed up to no water in certain creeks, you know, and
Ooh.
A little bit of local knowledge with that prevented me from going to one of those areas of saying, hey, that wind's out of the northwest. Some of those Virginia creeks are going to, you know, have a lot less water than they did Saturday. So that's just my quick little down and dirty on the Potomac. It's, you know, tidal water is probably the most frustrating thing you can fish. You can
I've
find
heard that,
them,
and I still have this like urge to try it. Between the Potomac and the California Delta, I really want to I just want to try it.
You can find them really good one day and tell your buddy like, hey man, I wrecked him yesterday. Let's go back and get him again tomorrow. You know, go back on Sunday, and you're like, what happened? What happened?
There's literally no water here.
What happened? So I call it the, you know, it can turn you from, and I know Tyler and Ryan heard me say this at the awards, but you can go from hero to zero or opposite, you know, on tidal water. Nothing's guaranteed. It changes minute by minute. You can get a really, really like big flurry bite window where it's like as fast as you can fire back off, you're back in them. You find that grass patch that's loaded, and then all of a sudden they just stop. And maybe it's tide, maybe it's sun, you know, light. I don't know. But you got to make hay when the sun shines most of the time out there because a full bite window throughout the day is not typical.
Gotcha.
Well, okay. Well, with all that being said, now I'm curious about, you know, everybody's like preparation and pre-fishing, like with knowing everything changes so quickly. I feel like it's another, you know, hurdle to getting prepared and finding a spot that's going to stay consistent. So, Tyler, why don't you start? Why don't you tell us kind of how you got ready for it and how your pre-fishing went, if you pre-fished?
Yeah, so I did pre-fish. I was planning on pre-fishing all day Thursday and Friday, but with the thunderstorms that were scheduled to roll in on Thursday, and to be honest, I was underprepared in leaving for this tournament because I was just late in getting all my gear prepped, and I had been in my kayak once just to make sure it didn't sink before I left home. So I kind of took my time on Thursday getting down there and then just explored a little bit. And I joked at the captain's meeting. Originally, I was planning on launching at the Virginia side up north towards the north end of the boundaries. And I forgot just how bad the traffic is in the DC and Virginia area through there. And when I realized what it was going to take to get in and out of that launch, I scrapped that idea completely. And I said, I'm not dealing with that headache. I'm there to have fun and fish and not sit in traffic. So I had my backup plan was to go down and launch at Piscataway at Farmington Landing. And so I basically launched there on Friday and pre-fished out through there. And I found a few random fish, nothing really great, but while I was out around the point at the end of the creek there, I kept going south, and there's a little cove south of the creek there. And from the aerial image, I could tell that grass usually grows in that little cove, and it's just a flat. And I found green grass, new growth grass, while I was down there, and got bit and pretty much, decided that there's fresh grass here. I know, talking to other people, there wasn't a lot of green grass everywhere. Everything was still died back. So I kind of, backed off of it, graphed the area, marked as much grass as I could and where the good clumps were, and left. And that was essentially my pre-fishing. I found one spot. I found, all the good grass in it that I could without actually fishing too much other than catching the one. And I put those eggs in that basket and said, this is what we're rolling with, because I got no time to figure out anything else. I'd never been there before, so had no history, and just said, I'm going to go for this one.
There you go.
Sometimes I feel like if I would just do that, it'd probably go better than like the overthinking and all, having a plan A through, F that never end up working. So
it's a lot easier to spin out when you have too many plans, because
100%.
It's so quick to abandon a plan because you're like, I've got something else I can do. And then you're going to leave, when if you just gave it another hour, fish would reload, something would cycle back in, it would turn back on, and you'd be back on them. And I've made that mistake, countless times. And then again, I've stuck on things I should have left before. So,
and I'll tell you, that's been the thing the motor has killed for me, is I'm just too quick to be like back on the motor. Like I'll just like, oh no, I can go hop to this spot real quick. Nope, this spot's dead. Turn the motor on high. When, back when I was just paddling, I'd have probably made that spot work one way or another,
I mean, that is like real juice, though. I mean, you just finding green grass. It seems simple, but I know, like here, we follow the coots, where like the little duck-looking things. Whenever you see them, then they're usually on fresh grass. But I mean, green grass in the spring is sometimes that can be enough to be the absolute deal. We talk about different baits and stuff, but sometimes it's things like basic things like that people don't know that can make all the difference in the world.
Heck yeah. Well,
yeah. How about you, man? Ryan, you want to tell us about your practice?
I didn't hear who you said. Yeah, so I got down there. We left Sunday. I traveled with a guy from up here. We traveled together to all those. So we left Sunday from here. We actually fished a tournament in Connecticut Sunday, and went down there and pre-fished starting Monday, like later in the morning. Started at Mattawoman. I think that's the name of it, Mattawoman, down there. Caught a few fish, but never really got around much. And being there last year, the Mattawoman has pads and there's grass and there's, all this stuff down there. And then you pull in this year and there's none of that. And we're only a couple weeks earlier than we were last year. So kind of a surprise when we first pulled in. And I was like, okay, maybe this isn't really going to be similar to what it was last year at all. So, all right. So we fished in there a little bit, caught a few little ones, nothing crazy. And then we just really try to go different ramps, go further north. We went all the way north of the border or to the boundary one day, and kind of just fished around. One day doing what Tyler did, just went looking for grass. I found some grass, but like he said, a lot of it was dead and never caught a fish out of it. And really just fell back on what I did last year when I was there. And which is fishing a creek that had water in it. Last year we kind of had the same thing where that water blew out. And I know a lot of guys showed up to ramps with no water last year too. So I knew that it had water in it. It wasn't gonna. It was low, like it was lower than it was Saturday on Sunday, but it'll never be empty. So we kind of put our eggs back in that basket and went where we caught them last year, and it just panned out again. But we had hit that creek on Tuesday before the tournament and didn't go back until Saturday. No. Caught a few fish on Tuesday, and we were like, oh, there's something here. And then the rest of the week, we didn't find much of anything. So just go back and cross your fingers and hope that those tidal bass are where you hope they were or hope they're going to be. So,
there you go.
And
Alex said you just fish whenever you want to, huh?
Well, I wish it was that easy. I ended up pre-fishing just the weekend before Saturday, Sunday. My son plays hockey, so Saturday I was out for just a handful of hours in the morning. Fished on the Virginia side, but watching the weather, and I know watching the weather from a week out, especially in the spring, is really tough. But this time of year in this region, it's always windy, and generally in some direction out of the west. And I know, I think, Ryan, you fished this last year. A lot of the creeks were empty on Saturday because we had it blown out big time. I mean, places where I was catching fish the day before were 2 feet above the water level on Saturday of last year. And I was like, I'm not going to set myself up for that again. So I just tried to stay clear from that. And I don't know. My wheelhouse is Mattawam, and there's not an inch of that creek I haven't touched in some way, shape, or form. So at any given point, I kind of got it figured out how to catch a bass in there. Maybe not size, like Ryan said, you can scratch up, maybe a limit or whatnot. Mm-hmm. And that turned out not to be the case Saturday, but we made up for it Sunday. I knew there was 3 boat tournaments going on. I just didn't think that 90 of them and me had the same plan in mind. I mean, it got pretty combative in there, even between boaters. A lesson in hospitality could have gone a long way. So I got a little spun out Saturday. Not on a dip.
I can imagine a bunch of people from that area like cussing each other. Maybe we're a little bit nicer down here in the South. Yeah. I can imagine some DC.
We're a mixing bowl of everything. A lot of military transplants, like a lot of not locals, and it's a recipe for disaster on the water. And you've got no dog in the fight when you're on a little plastic boat, man. You're like, all right, you got to know. So it was ugly. But as far as pre-fishing goes for me, I went out Saturday, Sunday, and I caught a small window on Friday that I made it out to just kind of scope around. But I just never. Ryan said it best. We're actually really far behind. We've had a chilly spring. Our vegetation is. I actually went back and looked in historicals. We've had pads like fully bloomed in mid-March in this area. And
we're definitely behind here too, for sure.
We've got stems. I think they're like this big as average. You might find one that's like maybe starting to flower now, but like there's not a whole lot of anything. And I think maybe that played into some of Tyler's success. And I did have a question for Tyler, just out of curiosity. On Saturday, were you visited by any boats where you went?
Not a single kayak was in view of me, and I did not have a single boat come in that little cove. Man. Everyone stopped at the point and peeled off and left, and I was left alone the entire day.
We're gonna have to take this podcast down because it's about to get blown up by. No, it's I was curious. I was like, oh my gosh, you found grass, and it had to have been boats because there is just nothing right now. And traditionally, we are a grass factory, so we're just not there yet.
Well, that's it's kind of weird. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I only found it because I was literally bouncing lipless off the bottom, and I snagged it up and I pulled it up, and it was green new growth, and I was like, oh, look at that.
I've always said that cheap little, rattle trap is the best tool for finding grass or new grass anywhere. You can have the best electronics in the world, but nothing gives you the real deal like a lipless on the bottom. So that's cool, man.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's been crazy. You talk about being behind. We spent the paddle and fin spent the week up on Del Hollow in Tennessee, and it's behind. And normally it's like you see the trend go where like it starts in Florida and it just kind of works its way north. How everything's warming up. It's almost been backwards because Kentucky and Tennessee are like mine and his lakes are like Gunnersville, Wheeler, Pickwick, like they're ahead of us, which normally they're not. Like normally, like you said, I've seen pads like on Gunnersville in early March, like last year, because it was like unseasonably warm.
Right.
And even with all the rain we had it, but we keep getting these ridiculous cold snaps and all this rain, and it sucks here right now. Like I don't like fishing around here right now because it just has not been any good yet for me.
It's like every time they go a spawn, it's like cold front, so they keep getting pushed back further. There's some, but I mean here and there, we'll see.
But we got 2 weeks of warm weather coming. I think that they're just gonna
it's going to
be like to hell with it. There's gonna be spawning fish everywhere. It's gonna be great.
I can't take it anymore.
Yeah, just everywhere. It's gonna be fantastic.
Eggs. All right. Well, I will go into that tournament day. We'll start with you, Ryan. You won day one, so you had the big day one, man. Tell us about it.
So fishing the spot that I fished last year. Last year I ended up getting fourth both days, so I did well in that creek. We were up in Occoquan, is where we were, and that is like I don't know. Maybe it's just I don't know the rest of the river, but it feels like it's just a community hole, and there's boat after boat after boat after boat rolling through every single marina in that creek, and then kayakers and everybody. It's just you can't. Like, I don't know, Tyler didn't see a boat. I didn't not see a boat. There was boats at every single dock, every pole, they're just all over the place in there. And it really just had to slow down. For me, the morning I started and I caught a few good ones in the morning, but I was just fishing pretty quick and, kind of getting through. Just fishing one marina, really just 3 different slips of that marina, and kind of just cruising my way through. And then a boat would pull in and catch like 4 or 5 behind me. And I was like, okay, I just need to really slow down and really pick this apart. And so just started dragging a drop shot around, and I caught that 20
I can get down
on
with
the
that.
first day. Like, and the water's dirty. Like it's not, it's not like up here where you get clear, deep water and you're fishing a drop shot out in 40 feet. Like I'm literally like pitching the thing around these docks and just slow dragging it. And
the painful kind of fishing.
yeah. Painful. But I mean, it wasn't slow, I caught a ton of fish and there were a lot of little ones, but I mean, I caught a 20 on it too. So 18 and a half. And I think those, I don't know the Potomac that well, but I know last year I didn't catch anything. I think my biggest last year was 19. So I know that those fish aren't easy to come by. I think last year the biggest bass caught was 20 maybe. So I know that you get a couple of those strung together and you're doing something right. So once I caught, I think I had an 18 and a half, a 19, a 20, and 2 12s in the morning. And just kept grinding, just kept pitching that thing around. And you could go down that slip, turn around and fish behind yourself and catch 3 more, and then turn around and go back down it and catch 4 more. And then like just all the time, and you're just not going to catch them all. And I don't know if it's the tide that moves them around. I don't have any idea, but I know that I left a lot of them there, and the other, like I would leave one and then somebody would pull in the next one and be catching them right where I just was. So I don't think you could catch them all. I just think that there was so many fish in there until Sunday.
It's awesome to, a lot of folks get deterred with all that extra pressure of like other boats and kayakers sharing water and then something else that'll, some people just don't like is like you said, you'd work through an area and then a guy'd come behind you and catch him, and then you decided, okay, I got to slow down. Kudos to you for being able to have that mindset, because I know too many people that, like, I'm usually the guy that is doing the fishing behind, because I like to watch, what you're doing, not catching them, so I can eliminate, that idea. And, kind of same thing for you. That's another little juicy thing to, for anybody listening, is to don't let it like get in your head, use it as a piece of the puzzle, or like you did, like slow down, or maybe you saw what they were throwing, or, how he approached the dock compared to you or something like that. But use all that stuff as a tool, for anybody that is a head case. Just take that as a little piece of advice.
Yeah. And I don't know what they were throwing, but I pulled out of that one slip, and they pulled right in behind me, and it was maybe they might have made 3 casts before they're like, net, get the net. I'm like, I got 2, or I think I had 2 or 3 fish at that point. And I'm like, get the net. Like, I just fished in there for, I didn't stay in there for a long time, but I was just in there, and these guys cast in there twice and catch fish. So I'm like, all right, they're around. I just need to slow down and really pick these things apart, because, you can just go back and forth in there. If they're there, they're going to be there. And, I don't use live or anything like that, Panoptics, anything like that, but I know that there was guys around me using that, and they're just going pole to pole looking, and then, oh, there's one, spot lock, flip at the pole till you catch it, kind of thing.
What you could do, something we learned from our man Brad Hicks at Del Hollow, because there was an MLF event going on. There was 298 boats in it, and he'd just be in the middle of fishing. Those guys are taking it serious, and he'd just sit back and be like, "Woo, 5-pounder!" And everybody just like stop and look, and then he's literally just sitting in his boat doing nothing. But they'd all get fed up with him and like go away.
Maybe that's what you gotta do. Maybe that's it. But yeah, no, it was a blast, and I don't know, it just kind of worked out in that marina. It got shallow the next day, and I don't know, there was still fish there. I caught my limit there, and then I left. The other guys that I was fishing around, I think there was 3 of them that were in the pro series and kind of had a shot. So I left it alone on Sunday and went and tried to find the same thing somewhere else, and they just weren't there. But
true sportsman.
Saturday, I just stuck it out in there. I didn't care who was around or who was trying to get in. I was like, no, I'm keeping this, because I know that they're tough.
Well, and it worked out, man. You ended up with 92, and you anchored it with a 20, which ended up being the third largest fish of the tournament?
Yeah, technically off of time, but I think there was a couple other 20s caught. They were just a little bit
okay.
Mine. So,
do you have a go-to drop shot bait? That you don't mind sharing.
It was honestly the first time I even hooked this thing onto a drop shot, but it was a Berkeley bottom hopper, just green pumpkin that I was throwing. It was like the smaller finesse one. It was like 4 3/4 inches, I think. Mm-hmm. But I just threaded it onto a drop shot, so I had like a full exposed hook. And I mean, like 10-pound line, not super finesse, but fairly light. But like I said, I'm only pitching the thing like 15 feet. I'm not like bomb casting it, just pitching it around and hook them and just get them in the boat as quick as you can.
Well, and I would want that heavier line being around the pylons and docks and everything.
Yeah, no, and I hooked a catfish in there. The thing had me all wrapped up, and it still came out. And I broke it off at the boat, but it came all the way out around those posts. I broke it with pliers trying to shake the thing off. But that 10-pound line was more than enough. I think you probably even could have went down a little bit if you wanted to. But like I said, the water's not clear there, so I'm not.
Yeah, you're not.
You probably could have even went up in size, and it wouldn't have mattered. I don't really know, but yeah, I throw in that little Berkeley bottom hopper on a 1/4 ounce, and the water's not deep, 6-10 feet in there, and just slow down. And that spot lock really came in handy. It got windy and whatever, and I would just hit spot lock, and then I would jog over to the next pole, the next dock, whatever was there, and I would just keep jogging down, and then I would just jog my way back with that Minn Kota puck and the Minn Kota, and it was awesome. But
and the max scent just wafting. to the fish?
No, it wasn't Maxent. It was just the regular one.
Oh, the regular. Okay.
It was just a Berkeley bottom hopper, no Maxent. That's what I was going to say. Up here, I'll throw flatworms and stuff, but down there, I don't. It was just the bigger green pumpkin bottom hopper. Well, not the bigger one, but bigger than a flatworm, which is pretty much anything.
Cool. All right. Well, Alex, you were a day 2 winner, man. Tell us about that.
Day 2, I got a funny story. So day 1, man, I spun out. After about 3 confrontations and you know, kind of had my like map in my head, like this is the point I'm going to hit first, second. There's just boats everywhere, and I'm sitting there and I'm fishing a laydown that historically holds fish, and I caught 2 right away, and it was the boat vacuum. Apparently, that was the only place they figured in Mattawam they could catch fish. And I had someone from a boat pitching into the same laydown as me. And I was just like, what, really? So I left that and I hit a few spots and it didn't really pan out. So I jumped in the truck and went to Piscataway where, you know, Tyler had launched and had a few little places in there, caught one, you know, ended the day with 4 fish. Just felt dumb for leaving my spot to begin with. You know, I probably should have like flexed, you know, the muscles that I don't really actually have, but should have like, you know, been the Chihuahua and probably tried to like hold my ground a little bit better.
Start throwing the tungsten and the crankbaits at the guys.
Yeah, I don't. You know how it is. You're like, all right, well, screw it. I'll move to the next spot. And it just, everything just kind of fell apart. And my day was just, I kind of lost track of myself. Fast forward, I didn't drink any water all day Saturday. And Saturday after the tournament, I left just right on time to get out of there to make my kids' hockey practice, you know, trailer, kayak, and the whole thing, pulling up to the ice complex, and was able to catch that. So realistically, that was kind of my highlight Saturday. Got home from that, and I passed out on the couch, and I woke up at like 7 and I felt like hell. And I looked at my wife and I was like, I don't know if I'm going to fish tomorrow, man. I you know, was just dousing the water, and ended up eating something and went to bed. And my alarm was set for really early Sunday morning. And I woke up and I had like the worst case of vertigo I've ever had. You know, like I felt like I couldn't even drive safely. And I went back to bed, didn't even set an alarm. Hell, I didn't get out of bed till 6:30 on Sunday. I woke up, I felt a little bit better at 6:30, so my wife and I drank coffee till 7. And she goes, "Are you gonna go fishing or what?" And I was like, "I don't think so. I don't feel good. I'm lightheaded." And she goes, "Well, you already spent the money. Just go down and, you know, put an hour in and see what happens." Well, lo and behold, that was the right ticket, because by the time I had launched, it was 8 o'clock, and I went back to that first spot, place I fished the day before. And by 10 o'clock, I had 90 inches.
Well, your wife's not going to let you forget that.
I was going to say, I feel like you owe your wife a little bit of that cut. Like,
yeah. I told her I'd help her out, you know, buy her Burger King or something, feeling real special.
You don't get too ahead of yourself.
Yeah, but
get her the crown and be the Burger Queen.
And I'll be honest with you, I was ready to roll out at 10 after I had 90. I said, you know what? I knew Ryan had caught 92 the day before, but that's almost unheard of on the Potomac, especially this time of year. It's not something you can really reproduce most of the time. And I fished a lot of tournaments on the Potomac, and generally it falls anywhere within that 87 to 90 is your winning bag limits. And I saw Ryan smoked him, and I was like, whoa. And I traditionally don't stare at the leaderboard. I kind of knew what I had, and I said, well, I better stick with it. And plus, you know, I'd caught a lot of attention, because when I tell you I caught fish on Sunday, it was nonstop. I mean, I hate to tell you how many fish I threw back in that 14 to 16, you know, and a half-inch range. And someone reminded me on Saturday with 92 and a half, if I'd have caught a 14-inch fish, I'd have been right up there with Tyler. So on the Pro Series. And I wasn't able to do it. You know, on Sunday I was literally like, I'm throwing back a fish I couldn't caught yesterday for whatever reason. But no, it was fun. They were chewing. And my first two casts was 16, 18, 18, 7.5, 20 and a quarter. And it just progressively went on. So it was a fun day of fishing, but I still didn't feel well. So I was enjoying it, but I couldn't actually wait to get off the water because it was very windy and the boat was rocking. And like I said, I was nauseous to begin with. And it was one of those, it was like probably one of the longest. Usually when you're catching fish, your day goes by in a flash. This day couldn't end soon enough. But I had to stick on that spot because I knew that someone was going to move in behind me when I left.
Yeah.
And I had to hold it down because I knew what the spot was capable of at that point. So I had to stick with it against, you know, I really wanted to be off the water with 90 and say, you know, let the cards fall how they fall at this point. So.
Well, what were you flipping in there on that laydown?
Secret.
Right.
No, I'm just kidding. I threw a little bit of everything. There was a jig involved. There was variations of a Senko. Really didn't test the moving bait theory. I didn't want to rattle the nest too hard. I didn't feel like I needed to throw anything reaction in there just to the amount of bites I was getting from soft plastics and dragging them through there. I feel like I could have caught them on a Budweiser can had I put it in there, but
one of those kind of bites. I like it.
It was one of those things, you know, I just you stick with what works. You know, if I feel like if they got too activated, they might have left. So, you know, too much commotion maybe. I don't know. That's just my little theory. I could be wrong, but I like to finesse fish anyways. It's kind of my go-to. I like micro stuff. Some people like throwing big swim baits. I like throwing crappy jigs. So
I'm right there with you. Just like last year, I've been trying to be the power fisherman and like figure all that out, and I can't. So I like my go-tos are like finesse jigs and Texas rigs.
Yeah,
that's
I like
what I can make work.
I like to keep it small and light when I can. You know, the wind made that difficult, but there was other kayakers in the area that were catching that were doing the same thing. And, you know, like Ryan said, the spot lock would have been awesome. I run a Torpedo, and I have foot control, and that helped out a bunch. But really that 360 drive on the Hobie, I've always thought like, man, that thing's like 90% overkill, but the 10% time you need it, is it nice? It was, I mean, especially, you know, I wasn't feeling well. When I say I was feeling rough, I was feeling rough. So, but I will tell you, I had 2 beers at the deal at the end and fixed me right up.
I was going to say, you know, that would have been something to come in and like throw up in Chad's lap or something like that.
No,
Thank you.
It was good. I had a lot of fun Sunday. It was nice, you know, meeting Tyler and, you know, kind of bouncing around. And plus I fished an event with Northern Virginia kayak bass anglers, and due to conflict of scheduling, I don't get to fish a ton of events with them, but they run a really awesome series as well. So I like a lot of the guys over there. They've got some really, really good tidal anglers, you know, that I think maybe the weather or I heard someone say when you have too many options, it almost is just as bad as sticking with that one option that you found fish at. And I don't know how the cards fell for everyone, but you know, they've got really good tidal anglers that I usually duke it out with on our local events. So it was fun to see those guys kick it.
Heck yeah. Well, like you said, you ended up with 92.5 on day 2. So you probably made the right move by sticking to them, but you did gap second place by a decent amount. You might have been able to go in with 90 and call it a day, but like you said, somebody moved in on your spot and probably.
You know, the worst part about it is you never know what someone's holding on to. You know, with kayak fishing, you're like, I knew Ryan was on him. I mean, he put up a phenomenal, 92 inches. I was like, God mercy. You know, anything over 90s rare. And you start looking kind of like, I did leave early, by the way. I didn't spend the whole day out there. I just didn't leave people with enough time to beat me. So
it's a strategic leave.
Yeah. I was kind of like, all right, well, I'll give them an hour, half hour. See what
ran your motor over the spot. Did a few
no, I wouldn't. I'm not like that, man. I got to tell you, I ran into two guys from New Jersey. Never met them before. And we were within earshot of each other throughout the tournament on Sunday. And I had a really good interaction with them. And it was actually kind of fun just to be able to, talk to other people and see what and then it turns out we knew, so, oh, I know him, this, that, and the other, and had a really like kind of cool small talk, just throughout the day of like life, things in general. And that's
makes the bad
really
day pass.
well, it's just like, it's what it's about for me, is like kayak fishing has put some of the best people in my life. And I'm sure everyone's got a similar story, but it's something I don't take for granted, is like those, I try not to have a missed opportunity at meeting, someone new or making a connection somewhere. Because you just never know what position someone's in, and just talking to a random stranger sometimes just is a cool feat in itself. So,
oh, for sure.
There you go. Well, Tyler, man, you had 2 good days. Tell us about your tournament.
So, yeah. So as I said, in pre-fishing, I found that one little spot, and so I motored out there Saturday morning, and I didn't go right on top of the first spot I had. I just kind of, eased my way in there because I wasn't sure exactly how they were going to be set up, and I really wasn't even sure how I was going to catch them because, like I said, I only caught the one in pre-fishing on a lipless. But for heading into there, for some reason, I rigged up a couple other things, and one of the things I rigged up was a big Strike King 2.5 square bill, and I started hucking that thing around, and the first fish I caught was it was 18 something on that bait, and he had it pretty good. It was still on the outside of his mouth. He didn't like engulf it, but he was hooked solid. So I was thinking I'm onto something a little bit. And then throughout the day, basically I alternated between that and a smaller square bill, a BX Brat, but most of my bites came on that big square bill. And I found this one spot. And again, I was able to spot lock on this one location, and I figured out a cast, and I would make this cast, and 2-3 casts in a row, I'd catch a fish, and then it would stop. So I'd turn off the spot lock, and I'd kind of drift around the area a little bit, fishing around. I'd come back to that spot, hit the spot lock, make that same angle cast. Boom, there's another one. Boom, there's another one. And there was just a patch of grass that square bill would hit, and I had to reel it slow. Like if you watched me, you would think I was dragging a jig or a Carolina rig, because I was literally just dragging that square bill, bouncing it off the bottom ever so slowly, but it was triggering the bites. So it got to be almost noon, and I was sitting at 88 inches, and I knew, like previous years, the winner usually had roughly 90 inches, and 88 inches was going to be pretty good. And I can't remember if I was sitting in second or third at that point, but I didn't know how well this spot was going to hold up for 2 days, and I had nothing else. So I made the decision, I'm leaving. I'm not going to beat this up anymore. I'm going to try to save these fish for another day, because I really didn't know what else to do. And I figure I can keep trying to cull up, a couple 16s, 17s here and there, and maybe move up a place or two, but I would rather save those for another day. So I took off with about $2 a day, and I fished around Piscataway a little bit and caught another fish, but it wasn't a cull, and left. So that was day one, and I finished in 4th place, and I was feeling pretty good. And then I looked at the detailed forecast for Sunday, and in my spot, the forecast at like 11 o'clock in the morning was going to be for 20-mile-an-hour sustained winds with gusts over 30. Now I've got a 24-volt Minn Kota that I put on my 13.5, and that thing will hold you in position in some pretty serious water, but that was intense. So I figured going in on Sunday, I'm like, I've got a 2 to 3 hour window. I've got to put up 85 inches in these 2 to 3 hours to take home, to hold on to the Pro Series. And so I gunned it out there, and the bite was a little bit slower, and they weren't hitting the square bill, but I switched it back up to the lipless and started throwing a jackhammer around, and again, found that one spot, and I was able to catch a couple more fish off that exact same cast, and managed to scrap up a limit. And I was at 82 inches, and I just called up 2 inches. And at that point, the wind had picked up, and my spot lock was getting really, really jerky because a gust would come through and it would push me off hard, and the spot lock would yank me back, and it got too frustrating. And then I turned the spot lock off, and I was just cruising around, and I realized that I had this thing on a 5 just to slowly creep into the wind. And that's a 24-volt motor on a 5.
Yeah.
And it was, the swells were getting bad. I'm like, this is a bad idea to stay out here. I'm going to dump this thing. I got to leave. And I spent an hour and a half just cruising around Piscataway looking for a place to get out of the wind. And everything out of the wind was 6 inches of water because of that blowout tide. And I couldn't find anything to go in and fish. And it was about 11:45. I pulled into the ramp and said, I got nothing left. I'm done. And it was 2 hours of me sitting there watching the leaderboard and watching anglers, like Matalevich and Conant just catch them and slowly get closer and closer.
That guy, I've heard he's pretty good.
Pardon?
I've heard that guy's pretty good.
Matt Levitch?
Yeah. So it was painful to sit there. But at the end of the day, it was enough, and that spot held out, and I managed to hold on for the win in the Pro Series. So
yeah, and you got him by just a little over 2 inches, which, I mean, that's one good call away, but I can only imagine how tough that would be, like having to call it quits due to something kind of out of your control. And I mean, some people would argue and be like, well, you could have, loaded up and went somewhere else. When the wind beats me up all day, I'm just done. Like, I reached that point with the wind. Like, the rain doesn't bother me. The cold usually doesn't bother me, but with the wind, I just reach a point where it's just too frustrating to deal with when it's making the big rollers, or like you said, I can't stand when I'm sitting in my kayak and I'm like, I've spent all this money and this damn kayak's still only going a mile an hour into the wind. Why the hell am I here? Like,
I'll tell you, that 24-volt, you put that on an 8 or 10, even in that wind, you're still making 3 miles an hour. That thing is a beast. And I'm so glad I went that route and put that on, because my top speed is, over 5 miles an hour. And in that heavy wind, it holds. So,
that is, which fill free are you in?
The 13.5.
The lure?
The lure 13.5. Yep.
That is screaming fast in a lure.
Yeah, it is.
That was my first good kayak, and she's not fast, by any means. If you're getting 5 out of that thing, that's a motor. That's a motor. That's nuts.
Ryan,
well, congrats, man. Go ahead.
No, I was saying Ryan was talking about a Predator PDL, and I think that's probably the fastest pedal kayak out there. I fish with Trey Leach from Innovative Sportsman a lot. And
he's
when
got
it comes
Torpedo on his. Yeah.
Well, at the BOS events, I don't know what that boy puts the juice behind that thing, but I can't keep up, man. That's a heck of a paddle.
I fished with
that boat is so much faster than my autopilot.
Yeah,
by a lot.
It's a rocket ship, man.
But it only goes as far as you're willing to keep pedaling. So
yeah,
the autopilot.
Dan has that's what you have, isn't it, Dan?
Yeah, I have a big water, and it's quick.
Like we fished together on Pickwick last year, and I was motoring and he was pedaling, and I couldn't keep up with him. And then like tournament day, he put in, or I can't remember if it was tournament day or pre-fishing, but you covered like one whole corner of Pickwick like with your legs, and like I was miserable in my kayak with a motor.
Like I ran cross country in high school. I might have a lot of weight, but man, I get after it. I'm like a turtle. But luckily, I have a fast kayak. I go forever. You know, once my legs get going, I'm good. You know, it's like perpetual motion.
You said that earlier that with the motor, you want to jump spot to spot more. I'm the exact opposite. When I'm in the PDL, I'm like, oh, I can get over there pretty quick. I can go over here quick. I can go up there quick. And I move a lot less in my autopilot. And it might just be because it's a little bit slower. So I'm like, I don't know. It's going to take me longer than it used to. But in the autopilot, like I would have never, last year when I was at the Potomac, I would have never went through the same slips 100 times. At the PDL, I would have been like, oh, let's go try up there. Let's go try out in the bay. Let's go over here. But I did the exact opposite.
I think that I really like the autopilot. I'm a new canoe guy, but the only thing that I think they could do with that is they would make it where you could drop a pedal system in it. I think that it'd appeal to a lot more people. But it's one of our hosts, JP's got one, and I mean his is slick. I think he's got I can't remember what size the bigger one is. It's like 13 or something like that. It's a monster, but that thing's so nice.
I mean, that is true. I know the hole's really far forward, so you can't drop a PDL in there. But if I could have an autopilot where I could swap them out.
But some guys are bow mountain predators in big water. So if you do that,
it would throw my ass out of that thing. There's no way. I've seen it. One objective makes it, dude.
Guys do it, man.
Maybe like a lighter guy, but I would be out of that thing so quick.
I don't know.
I thought about it because I mean, even Trey Leach at Innovative Sportsman, he makes a whole contraption on the back where you can put a torpedo on the back and you use that as your rudder, and then he has a rudder attachment that you can put on the back of the torpedo mount whenever you can't motor. So I mean, it's a great setup. It's a really expensive setup because just having all that. Torpedo itself is really expensive, but that's the reason I haven't done it. But
yeah, that I like to listen to Trey just talk. And that guy starts, because he has I have ideas. We all have ideas. Yeah. He has the ability to take an idea and put it into a product. Which for me is like fun because I get to just tease him with random ideas, but he actually thinks about it, and he's like, I don't even want to think about it. Just stop.
Because me and Dan kind of have that same deal with John with Yak Gadget, but everybody's learned that he's definitely more of the creative mind. Like that's what he would rather be doing than the business side of things. So you can mess up quick, like on the water with him, and be like, man, it'd be nice if this would do that. 10 minutes later, he's got a CAD drawing, and he's like, gonna go print it.
Right. Yeah. No, it's just awesome. I'm really fortunate to live near Trey and be able to go visit his shop. And he's also one of my travel partners, and like a shameless plug. I've seen that guy go out of his way so many times on events. Someone will order something, and just to avoid shipping, he'll just bring it to them and meet them at an event and, slap it on their kayak for them. And I don't know.
That's awesome.
I probably would have that set up if I lived closer to him, because you have to run the lines. I'm so not I do the simple DIY. Everything else my buddies help me, but the running lines, it's like
every dollar I've paid that man to work on my kayak has been worth it. I always said he rigged me a dream, man. He just gets it, but he gets a lot of good influence from some people like Jeff Little. That guy's been kayak fishing longer than, most.
Tyler was in a canoe.
Yeah. I mean, he's just got that, you know, that sense of like what he wants to do. So he gets influence from him, and Jeff's a genius when it comes to rigging. So when those two get brainstorming, something really good, you know, generally comes of it. So I'm just fortunate he's right up the road from me. I drop my stuff off with him and I say, do it, make it good, make it great. You know,
I don't know how public it is, but I'll say it because I don't know either one of them. But they're working on something together, aren't they?
Well, it's out. That
is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
They've got a, you know, I would venture to say that you'll see it more often, but they're dabbling in the inflatable market, and I've seen it. I've touched it, I've felt it, and it's not your standard inflatable. It's a pretty cool boat, and I know they're still going through testing and, you know, making adjustments, because I don't think any of those guys will let anything leave the shop unless it's perfect, you know,
which is appreciated.
They're way too OCD to, you know, and I don't know. I'm not going to say anymore because I have my thoughts on their position with it, but I don't know if my opinion here is completely necessary. But I know that I will own one. I think there's, you know, a certain place for it and a niche.
Yeah. And that's exactly what I think about it. Like that inflatable is the perfect boat somewhere at some time. It may not be the most versatile, but, you know, like for a lot of Jeff stuff, Susquehanna, there's a lot of places where that's the deal. So,
yeah, it's really cool.
Brad Hicks on the Ohio River. Yeah.
You know, Brad's big NRS. He's the NRS, whatever. And a good buddy of mine down here, Trey Johnson. Trey's owned, it's either 33 or 36 kayaks. So that's his hobby is buying and trying a kayak and getting rid of it. And whether he admits it or not, that's what he's doing. But he was told by Ben Meredith years ago that Hobies were the way, inflatables were the way of the future. He's like, you're stupid. And Hobie came out with the iTrek 11. He talked him into getting one. And Trey told me last weekend, he was like, I'll never own another rotomolded kayak. I can guarantee you that. I can't wait to see what Trey and Jeff are putting together. So they must be, like, this guy doesn't post videos about anything or take many pictures of anything. He will not shut up about this iTrek. And just the fact that the inflatables, he's like, man, it weighs 30 pounds. It takes 10 pounds of air to feel like a surfboard. Like, it's fantastic. He's 6'8", and they have no seat adjustment, and he fits in them just perfect. And I was like, well, okay, well, I mean, if you're critical on everything and you love this thing, it must be good. So I can't wait to try one.
Yeah, no, I went fishing, snakehead fishing with Jeff, which on the snakehead thing, Ryan, Tyler, anybody hook into a snakehead this weekend?
Nope. Catfish. About 100 of them.
Yeah.
This was my first time traveling and not getting into any catfish. I could not believe I did not catch a single catfish on this trip. And
I caught a really big snakehead on Sunday, and it kind of hurt me to not keep it because I eat the heck out of them, especially this time of year when the water is cold.
Good.
Oh, they're fantastic. I mean, it's about the whitest, flakiest, fluffy meat you could ever imagine. And if you figure out how to fillet them, you won't touch a bone, which is, you know, a huge thing. But we actually have restaurants locally selling them, that's on the menu, and people can't get enough of them. It's really good. But I was just like, no, but on the inflatable thing, Jeff and I were snakehead fishing 2 years ago or so. And when Jeff first started dabbling in the inflatable community, and he had a big Sea Eagle with like a Torpedo Cruise 6.0 or something. And he's like, man, we should switch or whatever, you know, you should take this. And I was like, all right, cool. And I had a fun on that thing, man. I could run it in no water, and it was stick steer. And this is a boat that can hold 3 people. It's not a kayak inflatable. It's like a boat inflatable. Yeah. And it kind of changed my mind on things because those tubes are so hard. You know, it's not like you just push in with your finger and, you know, it's not malleable. It's heavy duty chambers of air. And it's just something kind of, I don't know.
I mean, it's the same stuff they're making like military grade dinghies out of, and
Exactly.
like a lot of people think inflatable and think that you're taking a inflatable, like, you know, one of the, I can't even think what they're called, something you put in a pool,
right? Like a pool,
something you're like, yeah, that's what people think of it, and like, no, they have to be tough to be able to be as stable as they are, because I mean, most of them are like, it's like standing on a paddleboard,
right?
I mean, you're standing on a giant flat object and it's filled with air. But
I think there's probably a learning curve from going from something roto-molded to that, but you know, that's
I'm sure.
Anyhow,
my learning curve would be like not dragging it across the rocks and tearing a hole in it, because if you can mess something up, I'm your guy.
Yeah.
So that's the only deterrent for me. I'll try someone else. The same thing with the Hobie Lynx. I wanted to try one because it was lightweight, but everybody told me, they're like, man, it's like an aluminum can if you get anywhere near rocks. So like, I carried mine out into the water, into like waist deep water before I got on it. Like, I would get off of the inflatable in like 40-degree water and walk it to the bank, because I mean, I was just waiting to like snag it on a briar patch or something and just smoke a hole in it, just because apparently it's that thin and I have that kind of bad luck.
Likewise.
Sorry.
All right, guys.
We appreciate y'all being on. We don't want to hold y'all up too long. We want to give everybody a chance to shout out anybody that makes fishing easier for you. Stole that from Dark Waters. If he comes back, we're keeping it because you're not on there. Ryan, we'll start with you, man.
So I get, start with like family. My fiance, she lets me travel all over the place. She stays home with the dogs, takes care of all that, and lets me go wherever I feel like going. And then sponsors like Old Town Canoes, Kayaks, they are behind me, and that makes everything a lot easier. The whole Johnson Outdoor family is awesome. Black Hall Outfitters, that's our Old Town dealer, local to me, but they sell a ton of kayaks all over. They do a lot of online stuff too, but they're only strictly Old Towns. Enduro Power Lithium batteries, I just got with them this year. And like I said earlier, I fished that tournament on Sunday before we left using 100 amp hour, fished a whole day tournament, got in the truck, went down there, jumped back in the kayak, threw that 100 amp hour into the seat, and went an entire the rest of that day on that same battery without charging it. They're absolutely phenomenal. And they're moving more into the kayak realm. They were doing a lot of the like RV stuff prior, but now they're in the RV realm. Now they're in the kayak realm. It's awesome, and I couldn't be happier with those batteries. Northbound Gear, they are a clothing company, cold weather. They're out of Canada. They sell. It's kind of hard to get right now here in the States, but all that cold weather stuff came in handy down there. The rain that Tyler was talking about earlier. It's a lot of fun all week. And then Stretching Lines, they make some soft plastics and stuff. They're local to me, and the guy's awesome. So those guys, I appreciate them, and family and friends, and that's it.
There you go. Tyler, how about you, man?
Yeah, so
what's that bee in the hook you got on your shirt?
Oh, so that's my primary sponsor, Three Bells. Three Bells Outfitters in Connecticut, and they
you and Dustin.
Yeah, they take care of me really well, and they back us up and give us all the support we need. And you know, I needed some stuff for my kayak last minute, and I call them up, and it's there, and I got it. And so that's super helpful. And it helps too that they're now also carrying Dakota Lithium batteries, who I'm on the Dakota Lithium team. So, and now with that, 24 volt Minn Kota, I need the battery power to run that thing. So that's pretty solid. And then again, Three Bells hooked me up with a Feel Free. So I'm the Feel Free fishing team, and those guys take good care of me as well.
John Rapp.
Yep. Then FX Custom Rods. They're a rod company that I've been with for a couple of years now, and I run them exclusively. And they're solidly built rods, and I really like using those. And And then I could not be able to travel and do everything I do without the support of the company that I work for, Sterling Environmental. They allow me the freedom to take time off to go to these tournaments. They allow me to work from the road. If I want to take a week and travel, I can put in some hours remote at the hotel, at the Airbnb, whatever. I'm answering calls on the water some days, you know, practice days, but they know to leave me alone during tournament days. And
wow,
they really help me out, and they give me a lot of freedom to do this, you know, because that's my passion. And then obviously
I'll send you my resume whenever this is over.
Yeah, right. We're looking for more engineers. We're an environmental engineering firm in Albany. And then yeah, my girlfriend Elizabeth is super supportive. You know, when I'm gone, she's taking care of the animals. You know, the past couple of weeks, I've been super stressed getting everything ready, and she's been holding down the fort while I'm going nuts. So it's great when you have a support crew like that at home.
Yep, for sure. And Alex, last but not least, the hometown guy, man.
Obviously, I told you Delaware Paddle Sports, Brian Kidd, John Lester, and the rest of the crew that puts a hand in it. That's my wheelhouse. That's my Sunday church. I lean on those guys, and they say lean harder. You know what I mean? So that's cool that way. Aside from that, Innovative Sportsman, Trey Leach. That's my road partner. He's my kayak rigger. Give him a follow. Go to the website. There's nothing kayak rigging he can't do or figure out. I implore you to put a new idea in his head and watch him work. And Torpedo, obviously. I've had just a fun time with the Torpedo, exploring, learning new ways. I've mounted it on multiple systems. And I finally had my first customer service experience out of 4 years, and it was spot on. So I'm a big fan. It allows me to cover more water very efficiently. Customer service is second to none. And you know, I appreciate Jeff Little putting the bug in my ear years ago to, you know, turn motorized. He said it was a way of the future, and it really is. And you know, and I appreciate that there's different options out there for everybody. Not one option or system is, you know, it's not cookie cutter. You know, what works for me is it works for me. And if I can help you in some way, shape, or form, make it work for you, that's great. But if not, you know, you've got options. That's the best part. You know, it's part of the sport. We're growing, and you got to love growth. Last but not least, my rock, my wife of 13 years. I couldn't do it without her. I mean, it's awesome.
Especially not this one. I mean, she's probably the only reason you dug deep and went.
Yeah. And that's why it's so beautiful. Is like most of the times, you know, it's funny. You know, I hear the newlywed stuff, and it's like, shoot, that was 10 years ago for us. Like, we're getting old. I don't look old, but I'm old.
I think I've been married 13 now.
Yeah, you
Something
know,
like that.
and when you get someone that kicks you in the butt to get your butt out the door and go fishing, it's like, God, man, what could I do? And, you know, I've got a 4-year-old son. And, you know, part of me, I like that road life. But I also like the consistency of being home and hitting practices and keeping the consistency there for him. And that's important to me. You know, kayak fishing for me is my escape. I don't want it to turn into a job. I don't want it to turn into something that takes the fun out of it. So I try and keep it as lighthearted as possible. Like I told you earlier, it's all about the people for me. I'm a transplant here, so my KBF family, an extended thank you to them for setting hooks in me and keeping me gripped to the series. It's been fun. It's been wild. And I look forward to just continue doing what I'm doing. Keep, you know, hitting the events I can. And, you know, trying to help others.
Badass pools in the summer.
That's it, man. Just I got a big concrete pour in the morning, so like it's getting late, but
yeah. Well, we appreciate y'all being on, and good luck with the rest of the season, and hopefully we're able to have you back on it, whenever you win the next one.
All right, right on.
Yeah, we appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you guys. We appreciate it.
Holla at you later.
Hey.
All right, another great show.
Yeah.
That's our first Potomac show, isn't it? For sure. I don't think I've ever talked about the Potomac River before.
I think I did a long time ago, a couple of years ago. I don't know. It feels like I did one time. But
Yeah.
A lot of shows. It's hard to remember everybody who's been on and all the different places.
Wait until you have somebody walk up to you and know who you are, and you don't know who they are, and they've been on the show.
Oh yeah,
like we had
it could happen anytime.
Matt Souders. Matt's now a host. We had them on the final cast. Talked to him for a while about 153 baits, which was around then. Met him at Del Hollow last year, and he knew who I was, and I was like, man, I don't know who you are. I can't. And I was like, he was like, yeah, I've been on the show. I was like, yeah, really? With who? And he's like, you. And I was like, oh, like that makes you feel like an ass.
I mean, it's not like personal.
Well, if you break it down, we do 52 shows at minimum a year. Yeah. Or 50. It's 49 because we take 3 weeks off for Christmas.
You're going to be on other shows too, and
exactly. We do a lot.
It gets tough,
Well, all right. That was a great show. As always, which I say always, which I've kind of skipped out on this a couple times because I forget it. But we're going to do some tourney recap real quick from some other stuff that went on across the country in the kayak world. So we got quite a few, but we'll run over them real fast. First thing I want to mention, it's not on here because I don't know if it wasn't on Tourney X or I just missed it, but Hobie did their first collegiate event in kayaks, and our man Jackson Orr and his teammate kicked everybody's butt at that. So big shout out to him. Love you, dude. Keep kicking everybody's butt. I know he just made a post about talking about how he's been having a tough year, and then he turned right around and just whacked them. So good job, brother. But here we go. Mid-Atlantic kayak bass fishing. That was the event that was going on with the KBF. 50 anglers, 5 fish limit. Ryan Lignelli with 87.5. Bear Wenzel with 84. Third place, Michael Chaney with 83. Next up, the Peach State kayak anglers were on Lake Oconee and Lake Sinclair in Georgia. 36 anglers. First place, Josh Choi with 91. Anchored with a big 23 1/4. Second place, Larry Bugg with 82. Third place, Mike Watson with 81 3/4. So he gapped second place. Good job, Josh. Next up, kayak anglers of Florida on the Sunshine State Trail in Kingsville, which is Vero Beach. 43 anglers, 5 fish limit. First place, Matt Voigt with 95. Second place, Gaetano Criscoli. We're going to go with that, 90 3/4. He had a big 23. And third place, Michael Parker with 89 3/4. There were a bunch of big fish caught in that tournament, but it's Florida. Fishing's on fire down there. It's kind of like that's what happens down there. I'm jealous. Next up, the West Virginia kayak anglers are on Stonewall Jackson Lake and the Stone Coal Lake Open. 67 anglers, first place, Greg Kupfner with 52. He was the only angler to catch a limit. Second place, Buddy Vance with 38 3/4. Whew, it was a tough day. And third place, Mark Edwards with 35 3/4.
The Goat Whisperer.
Next up, the Natural State kayak anglers were on Lake Ouachita. 33 anglers with 5 fish limit. Matt Gifford with 87 3/4. Second place, Eric Morris with 84. Third place, Garrett Morgan with 83 1/4. Next up, scrolled too far. Next up, some Natural State kayak anglers were on the NWA Caps Men's Cuts Beaver Lake South. Whatever all that means. Hope they know. Yeah. 61 anglers, 5 fish limit. First place, Kyle Long with 89 3/4. Second place, Vince Minnick with 83 3/4. Third place, Dwayne Beatty with 80 1/4. Going on from there, next up we had the Tennessee Bass Nation on Kentucky Lake. 55 anglers, First place was Chris Walters with 89.5. Second place, Mr. Cinco himself, Josh Stewart with 87. Third place, Mike Cheatham with 85 3/4. And it's not on here, but I know it was this. Shout out to my man and my teammate, Music City Outdoors, Garrett. Garrett got fourth in that event, had a great day, and he won the event that was going on with that, which they didn't have 25, so it's not on here, but congrats, brother. Next up, we had the Moyac River Series event, which was statewide. It was 28 anglers. First place, Chad Davison with 86 1/4. Second place, Kerry Evans, 78 3/4. Josh Keats with 75 3/4. Moving on, the Southern Illinois Kayak Club was on Newton Lake. First place, Reese Schneider with 89 3/4. Second place, Darren Himker with 87 1/4. Third place, Dalton Williams with 85 1/2. This was a cool one, and I wish they had the results from the rest of this. We may have to call these guys and get them on the show next week. It was the Patriot Sporting Challenge in Yannis, Texas. It is a shooting, fishing, and golf combined tournament. And all of the proceeds and everything is an educational opportunity, and proceeds go to helping the families out of fallen and disabled military and first responders. So all I've got for you is the fishing results, but there was a shooting and golf competition, so I kind of want to talk to these guys and see how it was. But 27 anglers. First place, Paul McFarland had 97 1/4. Again, they're in Texas. That's how they do things. Second place was Miss Joanne O'Brien with 94 3/4, and third place, Brian Dick with 87 3/4. And there were a bunch of huge fish caught in that, 24 1/2s, 23s, bunch of big ones. Last two, stay with me. Kayak Anglers Association of Central Arizona over on Lake Pleasant. 27 anglers. First place, Bryce Gibbs with 91. Second place, Raman Rana with 78. Maybe Reyna, may have said that wrong. Sorry. Bradley Cullen with third place, 78 inches. And last but not least, the Urban Anglers of Los Angeles were at Pudding Stone Reservoir in San Dimas, Cali. And first place, Adam Garcia with 83 1/2. Second place, Rafael Jimenez with 83 1/4. And third place, Joey Aquino with 82 3/4. So tournament season's in full swing for everybody. There's a bunch of tournaments. We'll keep giving them to you each week. But make sure you go follow the guys we had on tonight. Remember the events we told you about this morning. Make sure you go check out the Fantasizer and get everything set and see how you're doing. See if you can beat old Dan up here. But you got anything else, brother?
Where are your PFDs? I got a new one. I got a new one today.
Hey, what'd you get?
Mustang Chimera.
Ooh, inflatable.
No, it's like a hybrid.
Oh, I have to check it out.
I just, I've had an inflatable and I've had Chinook. I sold my old Chinook, bought a new Chinook, and it's like, it's too bulky because I'm used to the inflatable. So it's an in-between. So.
There you go. Well, all right, folks. Well, you heard it. We're your PFD, and we will see everybody next week. We're out. Peace.
Thanks for tuning in to another killer episode here on Paddle and Fin. Be sure to drop a 5-star rating, a thumbs up, or smash that subscribe button on any platform you're listening in on. Be sure to check us out on Waypoint TV, waypointtv.com. Make sure you sign up for the Fantasy Kayak Fishing League at paddleandfin.com/fantasy. You could support this show through Patreon, patreon.com/paddleandfin. Don't forget to check out the website, paddleandfin.com. Catch us on YouTube. If you got a question, comment, or want to see a future guest on the show, be sure to email us at paddleandfin@gmail.com. Shout out to our show supporters, Yak Gadget. You can check out all the fine kayak accessories at yakgadget.com. Pelican Professional. For all your cases, coolers, and lighting needs, go to pelican.com. Rocktown Adventures, your Midwest premier paddle sports destination. Go to rocktownadventures.com. Eastport Marina, the beautiful destination on Dale Hollow Lake. If you're looking for lodging, kayaks, kayak accessories, or anything fishing related on the beautiful Dale Hollow Lake, go to eastport.info. And Jigmasters Jigs. When in doubt, get the jig out. Go to jigmasters.com and fill your tackle boxes today.